convinced that
Thank
he
you for thank you for recording it, ladies.
yeah, he's going to go to jail, and I think he's going to put himself there.
Thank you
He,
for thanks for recording it, ladies.
yeah,
Well, wouldn't it be nice if people who have to go to jail would just get up in the morning, put on their suit, and go to jail without all this nonsense? But
like
they won't.
Jimmy Hoffa. Remember when Jimmy Hoffa in the movie, when Jimmy Hoffa went to jail, he got up, put his suit on, you know, walked outside. Jack Nicholson's playing Hoffa in this one. Walked outside, got in the car. They took him to, he dropped him off at the federal prison. Then he got into the bus, and then the truckers formed that long convoy up to the door of the jail to prove that
I
they were
believe
with him.
we got a convoy.
Meanwhile, one of the guys in that convoy probably is the guy that murdered him.
Well, the reason he went to jail is because he had a good attorney, but not a great attorney. So, like Whitey Bulger, Whitey Bulger didn't have any kind of attorney. He tried to make a deal with the FBI, and it cost him everything.
Well, the other problem with Jimmy Hoffa was he had a good attorney, but the attorney was so good that he was trying to get rid of Hoffa. Because if the attorney got rid of Hoffa, he got control of the union.
Be careful how you choose your attorneys. There's another little bit of advice from the Teamsters.
Yeah, yeah, it says that right on there. If you look at their crest, it says right on it, be careful how you choose your attorney.
Be careful what you wish for. Be
Good
careful
morning,
what.
everybody. By the
Good
way,
morning.
he's Michael Knight, and he's in Pasadena, California.
And that's New York Vinnie Riccici. He is in Seattle, Washington. And what kind of weather you got today, Vinny?
Supposed to tip around the, excuse me, Michael. Supposed to tip the scales at about 90 today.
Ooh, we'll have equal weather. In fact, we will enjoy our weather together.
Yeah, and tomorrow we're supposed to be in the 90s too. So it's going to be mini heat waves. So they're telling you just go out and buy half an air conditioner.
Can I update you on something that happened?
I don't think there would be any way I could stop you, but go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, you could say you could say I got a really good bit.
Okay.
So you remember I told you about the $1 million jewel heist at the top of the Grapevine here in Los Angeles,
Right, right.
where a truck and trailer, 18-wheeler pulls over for no particular reason. He's 30 minutes from his destination, and he pulls over at a truck stop on top of the Grapevine, and is relieved, unbeknownst to him, of all of his fortune that's in the truck. We were led to believe at the time of the heist that he had left his truck to go to relieve himself or to sleep at the truck stop or something like that. Now we find out he was in the truck the whole time, asleep in the compartment, had no idea what was going on. Somebody, or so he says. So now we have a second story that we can't believe. First story was he parked the truck and just walked away from it with millions of dollars of jewels inside. The part of that story that doesn't make any sense is why the hell did you stop? You were an hour from
Yeah.
delivery. Now he says that he had to take a nap. An hour from delivery, you had to stop the truck with millions of dollars in it and sleep. That was your job to do, and make the truck available at all that time, unguarded, to be relieved of millions of dollars. And they still can't put a dollar figure on how many millions have been taken. So that's the new chapter of my story. The truck driver has amended the truth to include a nap that he didn't include before. He forgot.
He forgot
Forgot
he
to
was,
mention.
well, he was sleeping. How could he remember?
There you go. I'm glad you agree with me.
You know, Mikey is a guy who always likes to find solutions and marry people up to things and say, oh, I know this guy can do this and that guy can do that. Maybe we can put them together. I just was struck with an idea as you were laying this out there.
I mean, tell me about it.
There are, I don't know, how many out of work writers in Hollywood?
All of them.
Yeah, most of them, right? I think Ken Levine's the only one that works constantly. Um,
And he can't help it. Ken Levine is a genius, and the stuff comes out of him. It's his job to write it down.
Pours out of him, man. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's an amazing thing to watch him or see him work. And he goes from cars to baseball to mash to you name it, he can write it.
And when
Anyway,
you ask him what the hell's he doing, he says, "I'm writing."
I'm writing. Anyway, I'm thinking to myself that maybe
Teddy,
some of these people, hello, maybe some of these people who are need alibis come up with these stories. Like here's a clear case in these guys that could have used. Maybe you could hire some of Aaron Spelling's people that aren't working much anymore because of reality television, and they could sit down and they could write, the scenario for him, and they could
Who's the
play it
guy that
out
did?
the way it
Who
could.
did?
So this way, you would have an intelligent person working out the scenario, and it would be almost foolproof.
Who's the guy who wrote NYPD Blue? I can't think of the production.
David Milch.
Thank you. And there's somebody. No, he did um, The Sopranos.
Oh, David Chase.
NYPD.
I don't know if he wrote it, but David Chase was the.
We got to get it. The reason I mention them is I think we need a darker solution. This I took a nap business is not getting us anywhere. Now, if you were abducted by aliens, that'd be another thing.
Well, that's why I'm saying is that these people, these guys and women who are all out of work, who are all looking for work, and really, it's kind of strange if you are a writer. There's so many programs on in so many places. I couldn't understand why, if you were a writer, you would be out of work these days. But let's just say there are many who are. Um, this would be an easy way to pick up a buck. You have a crime syndicate. You pick up your phone. You call. I don't know. Let's think of a. Let's see. What would be a good pseudonym for a writer? How about Biff Jiggerman? You
I
call
like
up
that.
Biff, yeah. You call up Biff Jiggerman. You say, Biff, I'm going to rob the Central Bank at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I'm probably going to get caught.
I'm thinking I'm going to get caught. So I need a story. I need an alibi. And Biff says, okay, give me about an hour. And Biff goes into his file and he pulls out his old Superman scripts. Because he wrote many of those. And he says, okay, you were going to get you a machine that you push a button and everything just disappears.
Everything, including the money.
No, but only you can see it. Everybody else can't see you. And then you
Uh,
can just drive away. And you say, okay, that sounds good. And there you go.
and successful bank robbery, but no.
Well, successful story. I mean,
Yeah.
the writer doesn't get paid on the ratings. The writer gets paid on. Well, I'm thinking.
Residual.
I don't know for sure. I've never been a member of the WGA, but I think most writers probably just get paid on the script they write.
You get a fee and it's theirs, no longer yours.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You do it for a fee, unless you're probably a well-known name. Then if you're Mario Puzo, you're probably getting points.
Marrying a Puzo, not a bad idea.
I like that. I like that. You could call a guy. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. There's a whole bunch of writers around from NYPD Blue that aren't working. There's a whole bunch of writers around from CSI Las Vegas that aren't. I mean, there's police procedural writers up the kazoo out there.
And the good thing about the story that the Big Sugarman's gonna make up for you, you get your lab test back on the gun that day. It goes past all the other tests that needed to be 2 minutes, and they got the test done, and it's done. And
And
you ask him to put it ahead. You said, you know how many tests I got? He said, please do me this one favor. Oh, I won't even argue with you. Of course, I'll do you one favor that 10,000 people in the city can't get done for them. I'll have that test for you in 2 minutes.
right, and you actually walk down to the lab to get it, and the guy that's there is the guy that was, the Dragnet guy with the glasses,
Yeah, got the
who
clipboard.
actually was the lab guy in the original Dragnet, and then they brought him back for Dragnet '67. He was, you've seen him in a million commercials.
Give me a time of death. Give me a time of death. I don't know. I just got here. Give me
Yeah, wait, give me 2 minutes. Wait, how? Oh, we got only a minute and a half till the break. Okay, hang on.
sometime between 9 and 11, but don't hold me to that.
But that's what these criminals need, Michael. They need the ability to. They need a good alibi, and they just did not. They didn't go to. Most of them didn't go to school. Most of them didn't participate in drama club or anything like that, except for maybe George Raft. Uh, Other than that, most of them,
And George was a hoofer too. He could dance.
George was a hoofer. He was a very multi-talented guy.
Well, why would you pick this guy, this guy who made up his lame excuse of I don't know what happened to I was asleep? Why would that be the one person you put in charge of an 18-wheeler chock full of jewels to drive the length of California for delivery in LA?
Mikey, have you been to a truck stop lately?
It can't be that
Not
extraordinary.
the cream of the crop of humanity.
So if you want a truck driver, your choices are limited to people,
Yeah, I
only
mean
people
they're
who.
paying $150,000 a year for truck drivers, and they can't find them.
You do have to be able to drive the truck. I wonder if he could do that. Maybe that's why he pulled over. He actually
Well,
couldn't drive.
yeah, if you can't drive the truck, then then maybe only make 125. I guess I don't know.
You can start the truck. I can start it. Can you drive it? I
They
said I
got
started it.
16 gears there and everything, but now they have automatic trucks. But yeah, truck drivers are in high demand, even more demand now that the Christmas season is upon us almost.
In first gear in those 18 wheelers, the last 5 seconds, it must feel so neglected. It's like,
The granny gear, baby. They call that the granny gear. Just gets you rolling.
It doesn't do much, but of course, you have a heavy load of jewels from all over the world that is
Look,
soon going to be liberated from you.
I still don't understand in that caper why they transported that many jewels, A, together,
Yeah.
and B, in a trailer truck, where the probability of theft would be so high. I mean, I mean, you would have thought that they would have learned from the multiples of times that Superman had to turn the armored car around in those shows.
He didn't want to do it. He had to do it.
Right, he said, turn around, and bridge is going to get blown up here in a minute. I got to go save my wife.
And your wife.
Yeah, I got to. She's tied to the thing. I got to get there, and I got to, I got to save her because Superman does. He's got a thing. He doesn't harm anybody, or he doesn't kill anybody. He won't kill anybody.
Was he always true to that, even in the comic books?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there was Now I haven't read the comic books in the last 25 years, but I think there was a comic book where he did kill somebody, and then he stopped using his powers for a while. He felt guilty, had to
Wow.
go to a super psychiatrist and get antidepressants.
And what did he do? Was he a truck driver during that time, in his downtime,
And I think he just hung out as Clark Kent.
covering the major stories of the day, covering jewel heists if he was lucky?
Yeah, and he would sit there and say, "I wish I could help, but I killed somebody." But then I think they found out that he didn't kill somebody or something like that.
Well, if you watch this broadcast show or content often, you know that Vinny will tell you about Superman at the drop of a hat, and he's an authority on the subject. And
The
that comes on.
television series, yes.
Yeah. Now, me, I'm not an authority on anything, but I am becoming an authority on a baseball player that can't get out of AAA, whose name is Steele Walker. The other day, Steele Walker got DFA'd, designated for further assignment. That means you could be out of baseball. You're going to be through.
Yeah.
But guess what? Nobody wanted him, Vinny. So the Giants took him back and assigned him to AAA Sacramento River Dogs. So now Steele Walker is one step away from getting to the bigs with a team that saved him from the first time around. The Giants made him vulnerable. Nobody wanted him. They took him back, and they made him an outfielder for the Sacramento River Cats.
Well, hellified. I got to send my young nephew, who lives in Sacramento, to the ballpark to meet Steele. Maybe we can even get an interview Steele.
I think now I'm following his career. I want this kid to make it, and I want him to make it in a significant way. And more news from the Giants that involves the New York Mets. Catcher Patrick Mazzini was a Met. They put him on. They DFA'd him yesterday, and the Giants claimed him.
Yeah.
Patrick Mazzika.
Mazika, okay, yeah. I
You
hardly
know,
remember him.
yeah, well, he's at that part of his career. You know why I read the transactions? When we first started working together in Seattle, you said you got to read the transactions or you don't really know what's going on in baseball. And I said, but I've never done that. So I started reading the transactions, and now I know when things are about to happen or might happen or are promised to happen or hopefully could happen and sometimes do happen, but often don't.
It's a phenomenal way. It's like reading the box scores. The art now is lost of reading box scores. But when we were kids, when I was a kid, you were a kid, we pick up the paper every day, and what's the first place we went to was the box scores, and you read down the box scores. But it's like a lost art now. People don't read them. People don't score at the ball game anymore
And
unless
your
you're out in
guide,
the section in center field with the
And
free.
you find out your guy didn't get a hit after all. What happened to my guy? He didn't get a hit.
And it's and I mean the other lost art in baseball when it comes to that kind of stuff is the remember how they used to abbreviate the players' names?
Yeah.
You only had so much space to put a name in a box score.
What's your
Now,
name? Boccigalupi.
yeah, they play with the type, but in the old days, like you know, Wade Blassingame was B apostrophe
Game.
GME or something like that. I mean, they really shortened it
Oh,
down, but yet you could understand, and who it was. You knew who it
right.
was. So it was interesting in that, but you don't have that anymore. But I'm glad you picked up on that because I think I used to read the transactions. I don't anymore, but I used to read them every morning. It was the first place I went. Who's
Well,
going?
The Giants moved so many players. We claimed guys from the Phillies. We claimed guys from Kansas City. We claimed guys from Toronto. Now from the Mets. I don't know where Steele Walker came from, but I can't recall what team, Kansas City or someone. And it's fascinating to watch these guys who, in the matter of 2 weeks, or with three teams, never get to the majors, never get to bat in AAA, and are moving so fast that they can't figure out where their uniform is.
Well, I'll tell you the transaction that I love, Mikey, and that is Daniel Vogelbach, who came from the Pirates to
Isn't he
to
great?
the Mets,
I've been
who
watching your
has
yeah.
just taken New York by storm. He's only hitting 227, but he has 2 home runs, 9 ribbies. He's walked 7 times, and he strikes out. I mean, he's a Babe Ruth. I mean, he strikes out.
But he looks good up against Aaron
But
Judge
when
and the
he runs
Yankees.
around those bases, when he pours it on, the only thing that he hasn't done yet this year that I don't believe, I haven't watched every game, obviously, is I don't think he's hit a triple,
Triples are tough. My favorite hit.
and I don't think that he has stolen a base. Which I want to. I want to see the guy with the nerve to get in front of him when he's barreling down from first to second.
Well, then wouldn't it be best to hit the triple and steal home?
Well, if he do that, he would take care of his shortcomings for me all in one fell swoop.
But the Met fans love him, right?
He has taken on a life of his own in New York City. They love him. They cheer him. He's kind of become the Steve Scheffler.
Yeah.
He's kind of become he just and he's also one of those guys who's very animated on the bench when he's sitting there. He's the kind of guy who would not be on the Mets if it were not for the designated hitter. He's that guy. He's the guy the designated hitter was meant for. And he's a switch hitter. He's a huge, 6 feet tall. They list him at 270. If he's 270, I'm if he's 270, I'm 195. Uh,
195 going once.
yeah, but it'll be interesting. We're getting down to it now. Moving into the last week of August.
Make your moves.
Labor Day is coming up. The a possibility of a deal before the first is really not much going to happen of anybody trying to strengthen themselves up. But your best AAA players will be up here, barring if you're obviously if your minor league team is in the playoffs. But there is help on the way, so
Well,
it's nice to see. The Mariners have been they haven't been great shakes, but they're in it. I mean, it would shock me if they didn't make the playoffs. I mean, right now the Giants, out of our circle of teams that we follow so much, um, the Giants are the only ones that are pretty much.
23 and a half out off the pace or
Yeah, I
more.
mean, you talk about a miracle of Coogan's Bluff. I mean, this would have to be it. Yeah,
No.
it just ain't gonna. The
Coo-
horse
Coo-
is
Coo-
there this year, but
Coogan and
it's
nobody up
exciting.
the Nobody up on Coogan's Bluff can do anything about what our problem is this year. No,
No.
and you can read the transactions all you want. They move, they change, they a little bit here, a little bit there, but the solution is not there, Vinny. As you know, the solution is not in the transactions.
Right, right. Not this year, not for the Giants. I mean, maybe they'll do some stuff. Hopefully, they'll do some stuff in the off season, move some pieces around,
Why don't they
replace.
buy the
Yeah,
Angels?
how do you replace Buster Posey?
Well, Joey Bart is turning it around, but he's got a lot of work ahead of him. I think he psychologically was at a disadvantage there.
Yeah,
But the Angels are for sale. Artie Moreno of the Anaheim, California, Los Angeles Angels, whoever they are, wherever they play, put this team up for sale, and they've got two assets that would be winning assets in anything: Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Now that's a good place to start. Pitching power together. But the Angels are a lackluster team with all this star power and opportunity and promise. There's really no there. And a lot of people blame Artie Moreno and hope that they can get a dynamic owner for LA.
but hasn't that kind of always been the Angel story? I mean,
Yeah.
it's always kind of. I mean, no matter even when Autry owned them, all the way on through. I mean, they had some good years, uh, interspersed with a lot of different things going on, but they never seemed to be. Even when they were really, really, really good, they never seemed to have that tinge of greatness about them. I don't know if it's played in the shadow of the Dodgers. I don't know, why it is particularly. Being in Anaheim, maybe. They've changed their name 9 different times. They're the California Angels, they're the Anaheim Angels, they're the Southern California Angels, they're the Golden State Angels, they're this Angel, they're that Angels, they're the Hells Angels.
Well,
All the Hells Angels worked out good for them. I love the uniforms.
there's just no point. There's just no point in having a team in Orange County. There's just no central area aside of Disneyland. There's no spot there that makes it worthwhile. Now it's nice for the players to live in Laguna Beach and Manhattan Beach and Newport Beach. That's very nice for them. But the stadium is nothing to sing about. The location is way far down the freeway, too far from San Diego, too far from LA.
Yeah.
It's they got to make a deal with the Dodgers and they got to play in town or else come to town in some other fashion or else just sell it and move it. And there's room in the Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Angels, probably not. The Dirty Angels.
The Angels with dirty faces. I like that. Um, yeah, you would think that a team in that market, you could have three teams in that market and they'd make it.
They didn't even have good radio. They just don't have anything that a major league team in LA needs, and they don't have any of it.
Yes, and it's kind of a shame because it's a team that has had fabled names playing for it, has had some great players. Uh,
Bobulinski.
yeah, Bobulinski. You had Jim Fregosi, Nolan Ryan.
Yep.
Brian Downing.
Yeah. Good.
You know,
Good. Good.
I'm just going off the top of my head here.
That was a good one.
You had
We'll have to do. You know what we
they
haven't.
had Trout and Salmon on the team, and Snow.
And Salmon was a hell of a fielder. You know what we haven't done in a while is Vinny's top five. Vinny's top five at LA Angels. We'll have to do that someday. That would be
Yeah,
great.
we'll have to come up with top five LA Angels. Um, they got the best of the Fregosi deal. They had I mean, they were great. Not a great franchise, but they've never got to that point, or haven't got to that point, where it's been. It's felt like more than a day out at Disneyland when you go to a game. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been to several games there. Dodger Stadium, you walk in, it feel we love the Dodgers, hate the Dodgers. You feel like you're at a baseball game.
Yes. Well, you are.
Walk in, you feel it.
This year you're at a hell of a baseball game.
Yeah, yeah. You feel like you're. I mean, you feel like sometimes you're at the National League equivalent of Yankee Stadium or something like that. It's got that tradition to it. It's got all of that, and yada yada yada. The Angels feel like you're going to a. It almost doesn't feel different when you go to their spring training games
Yeah.
or their regular season
They're
games.
like a touring team. They come to your town to play softball.
Yeah, it's just a weird vibe around. Great people that work for the club too. I mean, the I got to know the clubbies down there, the guys that used to run the visiting clubhouse, and they were spectacular people. You couldn't ask for a nicer group of people. But
Well,
man, they just
there is no there, and it's a shame. But they're always going to be compared to the Dodgers, as the Clippers are always going to be compared to the Lakers, or thought of in the same breath as second only to the Lakers. If it wasn't for the Lakers, you'd be the only basketball team in town. That must give you some solace.
well, which isn't bad. I mean, the Nets got that for years because of the Knicks, and the Islanders have had that for years because of the Rangers, and even the Mets because of the Yankees, and the Giants because of the Dodgers. Had it for so many years because the
Yeah.
Dodgers were the number one National League team in town, and the Giants were always the number two team, even though I'm pretty sure that many years the Giants outdrew the Dodgers. They certainly had the capacity to do it.
Yeah, even if they sold out in Ebbets Field, Giants could put more people in the Polo Grounds.
I think you could stick 65, 70,000 people in the Polo Grounds. I think you could only put about 38,000 in Ebbets Field. But it'll be there's a shift coming in Major League Baseball. I think that once they kind of figure out their on the field rule stuff, they're going to look to add a couple of teams.
Well, if they add two team, my God, I don't know. Um, I'm not particularly fond of that, and I don't know where the Angels could move where they could be a factor, a positive factor for the American League West.
Well, I think that the two cities you hear the most are Portland and Las Vegas. Las
Yeah.
Vegas is probably the most ready,
Well, it's got the money.
and I don't know who has the right of if anybody has the right of first refusal on Las Vegas. If either the Padres, the Dodgers, or the Angels own that territory. I know that have broadcast Dodger games in there for years,
Yes.
but I don't know what the A's seem to be the preferred team among the Las Vegas people, but who knows? Preferred doesn't mean anything. But they also are looking at, what is it, Charleston, South Carolina. That
Yeah.
seems to be a place that.
Can't play in the West that far east.
Well, no, but I'm saying you would have to realign again.
Right.
You'd have to change because you'd want to if you put four teams in, you'd have to it'd give you 19 in each league. You'd probably you'd have to and then you'd have to see where those teams are moving so that you could realign the whole thing to make sense.
I remember
Because
when the Angels first came to California. My dad took me to a Angels Yankee game, which was played at Dodger Stadium because that's where the Angels played. It's when they had halos on their hats,
right,
on their caps, and it was a good night. Saw Yogi Berra hit a home run in Dodger Stadium. That's kind of a weird thing to be able to
yeah,
see.
yeah, at that time, yes, yes.
So the feeling of being at a major league ballpark and seeing a major league team is different when you see the Angels at Dodger Stadium. If they could work out an agreement, now the Chargers and the Rams have worked out an agreement that works great for both those teams. They both have an LA identity. They both play at a great stadium. They both have a financial stake in it, although the Rams own it. Why can't the same be done at Dodger Stadium for the Angels?
I,
The
I
Dodgers would be doing them a great favor if they were to do it, and perhaps they're not in the mood to do that.
Well, and I also think it's different because of the numbers you play, the number of games that you play. it's different when you use. I mean, I remember the 2 years that the Yankees and the Mets both played at Shea Stadium, and it was no way, no how a home game for the Yankees. They were playing at somebody else's ballpark.
And that's the way it felt. And that's the way it looked, huh?
And it felt like that, and it looked like that. I think baseball keys into, excuse me, keys into the uniqueness of each stadium, even though they may look the same on the outside. You
Right.
know, every stadium is unique on the inside. And of course, there are people who are now saying that every stadium should be the same. I wish
No,
those
no.
would
Oh, go away. You
you'd
don't
go away.
understand you don't understand what a stadium is. Go
Yeah,
away.
it's a ballpark. You know, they're supposed to be different dimensions. They're supposed to fit a city block. That's what the original intention was when they built them, is they were built in downtown or in close neighborhoods, and they all fit into one city block. Of course, there wasn't that much parking to everybody took the streetcar,
Right.
but and I think that you lose some of that. Matter of fact, I think you lose a lot of that when you don't play in your own particular stadium. Not to mention also the signage and all the other stuff that, yeah, today can be more easily changed than in years gone by. You don't have to send somebody up on a ladder to change the D or anything like that to an A or an A to a D. But there's just something about baseball to me, and this is only my opinion. I would love to hear what other people think about it. Uh, doesn't lend itself to sharing a ballpark as do football teams, soccer teams, um, other outdoor sports.
One thing that Artie Moreno, the owner of the California, Los Angeles, Anaheim Angels, has done is he's put himself right on the edge of going to jail. He wanted to buy a bunch of land around the stadium in Anaheim and had difficulty in doing it. So he put together a dirty land deal with the city councilman and himself and a middleman. And everybody knew about it, apparently, which is too bad because everybody, included the FBI, who arrested the individuals in charge, shut down the land deal, took one of the councilmen off the seat, put Artie Moreno in the spotlight for further charges. And the Angels were, well, disgraced.
Yeah.
It was a disgrace to come up with a dirty land deal in the American League. That's not how the American League team should be doing business. But that's how he was doing business.
Not after tape recording was invented.
Well, look what happened. Look what happened when you hit playback. The damnedest thing happened. So that's the kind of owner that they have, and that's the kind of guy that we'd like to get rid of. So the magic of the next owners, the big challenge is to come up with the magic for that ballpark in Anaheim, which it does not have. And I know they have regular fans and I know they have loyal fans, but they don't have an American League setting for greatness. And as close to LA as they are, they might as well be in Topeka because there's nothing LA about Anaheim.
Well, that first of all, the ballpark is in a bizarre place. It's between, I think it's two freeways, and
You can see it from the freeway, but you can't get there.
right. There's one street that goes down, and there's a bunch of bars once you get down it, but it's not. It's an industrial area almost
Yeah, yes,
that
it is.
has like a Chili's and a TGI Fridays. It's not a place. At least let's say Shea Stadium or now City Field, they have tried, and it looks like finally successfully, to redevelop the junkyards that were there into some kind of neighborhood, some kind of community
To support the stadium
to
in a lot of
support.
ways.
Yeah, and to also attract people to live there. I mean, you need houses in New York, and you now have these buildings that are being put up right across the street from the ballpark, on top of several '56 Chevy taillight bezels, because they all used to be junkyards. And So the ballpark is generating. I mean, even coming here to Seattle now, maybe it hasn't done exactly what it should have done here in Seattle, but I don't blame the ballpark. I blame
The
the
city fathers.
run the city for not capitalizing, opening up zoning, doing things down there that would have encouraged people to build, developers to build condos and to build at least 5 and 1. Those 4 and 1s or 5 and 1s. We have retail on bottom and apartments on the top.
What about restaurants pregame?
Yeah, there's some restaurants. The Mariners just took over where Pyramid Brewery was across the street. Mariners have just taken that over, and they've taken over a bunch of. So now the Mariners cash in on the whole block across the street. If you go catty corner from the rotunda, that's where King 5 is. Now they built a
Oh, wow.
communications type center. So I think Real Networks. I don't know what Real Networks does anymore, but they used to be how you streamed anything. But Real Networks and King 5 and some other communications type building concerns are in that building. And they have the studio. You can actually look into the news studio from the sidewalk outside while you're waiting across the street to go in. So there has been some development. They also opened up a lusty lady right on the opposite corner.
Perfect. Do you want me to call the FBI to look into any of these deals? Did they need to be?
I think they've been. I think everybody in the lusty has been looked into by many people in the FBI.
Let me look up your number.
Let me look up your record here. Sure. Do you want the 45 or the 33? But yeah, I mean it's development around these ballparks. I mean, look at what's happened in San Francisco. I mean,
You did.
the ballpark has completely changed the character of the neighborhood, and he
Yeah.
actually the ballpark became, for years and years and years. You'll remember this, Michael, where they built the ballpark in San Francisco is right at the end of the Embarcadero, where it turns to go into Third Street. There's a canal that runs right along there, and there used to be a huge pier that used to be there with mostly was used for storage of nothing, of garbage. And then there was a radio transmitter that sat on top of it for KEST.
Wow.
So yeah, because I used to go up to the site when I worked at KEST. We used to go up to the site all the time, take a ride over to the transmitter.
I'm trying to remember the name of the Third Street Bridge, named after a ball player.
Lefty O'Doul.
Thank you. Lefty O'Doul Bridge. Thank you very
Right, you're
much.
going as the Lefty O'Doul Bridge. So when the Giants finally, there were several spots where they wanted to build a ballpark. At the same time, you also had this grand master scheme for the city called Mission Bay,
Yes.
and which wanted to develop the whole area that used to be uh, blacksmith shops and just junk cars, and it was
Chandleries.
just the dregs, just the really downtrodden bad place in the
Do you
city.
want me to have the FBI look into that deal?
What?
Do you want me to have the FBI look into that land deal?
That's
for
done
Mission
already.
Bay?
So
Okay.
somebody got smart in the city and said, well, wait a minute. We can use the ballpark to generate the interest in the development. So, in essence, they did that. In essence, they put it together so that the ballpark was used as a generator to get the Mission Bay project going. And now it's this great residential neighborhood. It's a medical neighborhood. The UCSF hospital is down there now. They've opened up a huge hospital, and there's been development. Oh, I forget what that canal is called that the Lefty O'Doul Bridge goes over.
I know what you mean. I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
it
Not the ship.
goes in and all the way up to like Fifth Street or something like that. And then you got the Caltrans down there, the bus terminal and everything. And it really, the ballpark spurred an incredible amount of development there. But then you go across the bridge to Oakland, and there's nothing.
There's nothing.
There's
And,
nothing.
and it's been there long enough to develop something, but Hagenberger Road has got a sign and that's it. There's really nothing there. And there's never been anything there. And there's been a lot of great baseball and basketball played at that site,
Yeah,
but nothing, no vibe, no.
couple of great restaurants, over there, and that's about it. Um, you know, the, uh, because people have a fear of going to Oakland.
And the American League went so far as to say, we don't really like the environment here for the Oakland ballpark. There's something has to be done. We're putting the clock on this one. If Oakland can't save this team, we're going to move it.
So you have a lot of, and it's not really, I don't think, been made as public as it should be yet. But I think behind the scenes in Major League Baseball, there is a lot of, what is this league going to look like? Or what are these two leagues going to look like in 20 years? Where do we want to be? What are going to be the hot spots? Where are we going to have to be so that we're not playing baseball ankle deep in water?
New Orleans, let's move a team to New Orleans. Seems logical to me.
Every time they think about that, what happens? It gets scotched.
Yeah.
Something happens to.
Because they love their football team so much.
No, I don't think it's that. I just don't think it's an economically viable. You have to have. It's like Sacramento.
Well, New Orleans is different.
Now it's a little bit different over the past, I don't know, 10 years because you have so many people and companies from San Francisco and Northern California, near the ocean, that have moved up to Sacramento and the Sacramento Valley and the American River Valley up there.
Yeah, the only major league team there, of course, is the Sacramento Kings, and that story is not particularly inspiring. Um, the interesting thing about New Orleans as a site is New Orleans taught all the other cities in the National Football League how to throw a Super Bowl party.
Right.
Nobody else knew how.
They're good at. They're good at partying in New
They
Orleans.
are good at throwing a party.
Partying and murder. That's the two things they really do well.
Not necessarily in that order.
Right. Right.
And
So
sometimes you want to do the murder early, get it over with, clean up, and then go to the party.
right. Right. And sometimes they lack in timing.
Yeah.
But I just don't see. I mean, it's such a poor city outside of once you get outside of the the French Quarter.
Garden District.
Yeah, I almost said the Latin Quarter. Once you get outside,
Everybody try to
I
have
was thinking of
fun.
mafia clubhouses, mafia joints.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. Baseball's going to have to figure this all out. This Tampa Bay stay. I mean, that's been. I mean, they've done everything there to try to get that place going.
Is it that the people just don't love the team?
Yeah, I mean, they play indoors in a stadium that looks like a mausoleum. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a stadium yet, but it looks like the Kingdom, except
Oh,
the roof is tilted like this.
there's another idea that I was amazed that the architect can get a job to design a stadium and he has no idea what it's going to be used for. Well, let's see. We'll make it impossible to see fly balls, and we'll put little mounds, speed bumps that they're running to first base. Somebody's going to get hurt. Speed bumps to slow them down.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you know, but there are. I mean, there's probably a handful of cities right now that you could say that you could put a major league team in without worries. Many people say Sacramento.
How about an American League team in St. Louis? There's a city that loves its baseball. Could they do two teams?
I don't know if I don't know if the population there would support it. I think that's an area that's lost population. Although, as we saw in the last sentence, That's a little crazy right now because now we're seeing people leave
Yeah.
the West Coast and some of these high density places and move back to the Midwest because you can afford a house. Since you can now work out of your home for many jobs, especially in high tech, people are saying, if I don't have to live in San Jose, why would I want to live there and pay $1 million for a house that it cost me 250,000?
What do you think of Vancouver, BC?
As a baseball town, you're too close to the Mariners. I think Montreal is on the list.
Makes
I think
sense.
I think Montreal is on the short list of getting a team. I know that I forget which team they were trying to get to go and play some games up there.
Detroit,
This
right?
season.
Was it Detroit or was it AAA Buffalo?
No, no, no. It was a major league they wanted to do. Um, oh, it was Tampa Bay. They wanted to have Tampa Bay go up and play like 4 or 5 series in Montreal. And kind of split their time, which I think is a disaster. I mean, it happened a few years ago, more than a few years ago with the White Sox. Remember when they were,
Yes.
they went up and played in County Stadium in Milwaukee. But that's an area where the teams are close.
Very good. And for years they've been closed.
Yeah, geographically they're close.
Yeah.
Not that far away, Chicago um,
Milwaukee.
to Milwaukee. They also have talked about um, oh, I can't remember the other metro I'm thinking of. There's one more metro that they've talked about. And it's just escaping my mind right now. Oh, Louisville.
Really?
Yeah, they have talked about Louisville or Nashville.
Nashville is more of a show business town.
Yeah, because you have some corporate oomph there.
And it would be nice to have a team own the name Nashville because the Titans won't. The Titans are a state team, and it's just like we don't belong to Nashville. We don't belong to anybody. We're separate. The FBI is investigating.
Right, right. Well, they're going to look up as soon as they finish looking up the lusty lady. They're going to head off to Nashville.
Okay, laugh if you want. There was a lot of paperwork on that lusty lady deal that we haven't been able to go through. Okay.
Yeah, well, we've gone through it, but we seem to have to go on and go through a lot of the photographs again.
Well, I asked for the boxes to be delivered, and they said they gave me everything, and then we had to go back and get the rest of it.
Defund the FBI, they said. Defund the FBI.
Invest in the
No,
lusty
no,
lady.
we said defund. Defund, not defund. Defund.
It was simple. I understood you the first time.
Some people have trouble. So that's kind of a view of where I think baseball, but it all goes back to, I mean, it really the whole linchpin on this thing really is caused by who? San Francisco Giants.
What did they
Because
do?
the San Francisco Giants could turn around and say to the A's, all right, listen, we feel sorry for you. Go to San Jose. Build a ballpark down there. And we'll be good. We'll all be good. Pay us, I don't know, $1 million a year, some kind of franchise fee.
Pay us in pitching. We get to pick your pitching.
Send us a good pitcher once every 5 years.
In fact,
And we'll be even.
but
But
you know, Oakland wants nothing to do with San Jose or Las Vegas right now. They want a Bayside Stadium on the east side of the bay. They want an East Bay jewel box sitting on the water in Alameda or Richmond or wherever the other location is. Jack London Square, someplace.
Yeah, I think they want that piece of land between Channel 2 Studios, which
There's
is
a lot
south of Jack London and Jack London Square. And you have the train right, you have the train that goes right there, and BART that goes right there. You have a couple of options as far as public transportation. Again, the problem is that Oakland has a stigma.
It does.
People don't want to go to Oakland late at night. If you get a ball game that lets out at midnight, um, people are worried.
But Oakland has changed so much in the last couple of years that that reputation has been well earned over the centuries. But I think it's changing now. The way the whole Bay Area is changing, and I, I think that the enterprise zone there around Jack London Square would I think that bars and the nightclubs and the Mexican restaurants would go in there with double fists to capture the magic around a ballpark,
Yeah,
create
I would
something.
hope so. But again, you have a lot of perception to change.
Yes, well,
Not
the winning.
necessarily from the Oakland fans, but certainly from people that would come to the game from, Walnut Creek and San Jose and a lot of these other places that the perception still is don't go to Oakland at night.
What about playing day games? That's something the Giants tried to get more people to come to Candlestick one season, and I loved the
I thought
convenience
it
of
was
it.
great. I thought it was one of the best years of one of the best
Yeah,
seasons of baseball I ever watched.
I agree with you. And not only that, Oakland could have lights for games that run long, but make it a tradition, make it an old baseball tradition. And the I think the results would be beautiful. I think the results would be great.
Yeah, listen. I'm all for the Oakland A's staying in Oakland. I would like to. There's nothing more. I mean, I have tradition with that club. That was. I love the A's, and love the fact that they, um, hated the fact that Al Davis was allowed to do what he did to that ballpark and turned it into just a mausoleum.
Yeah.
And it's a true sign of kowtowing to an owner who would, was going to get his own way and held the city hostage. It's You only need to look at that place.
Not many other football teams can say we could always play in Oakland because that used to be our home. When we were trying to relocate to someplace else, whether it be Los Angeles or Las Vegas, we could always play a couple of years in Oakland, get our act together, and then move again.
Right? It's criminal what Al Davis did to Oakland, and um, and sad because not I mean that's one of those cases where we always used to say we talk about building a ballpark. Well, it's not going to hurt. What do you mean? It's not. It's not going to hurt. It's going to hurt the city. The budget for books, the budget for this, the budget for that, budget for schools, all different. In Oakland's case, the way they constructed it, it wasn't different. And when Al Davis decided to move, they did lose money because they were stuck with their hands out. Well, what do we do? Well, I don't care, baby. I don't care what you do. I legally got a right to get out of this contract, and Las Vegas is waving more money at me than I've ever seen before.
And
And for me,
I'm
that's
gonna
no
die
reason
soon.
to meet.
Yeah.
See you later.
And he died, and his strange doesn't really begin to explain his son, but genetics are a bitch. Nothing we can do about it. He's in charge, and if you can imagine a deal where they could have had Tom Brady and Gronkowski in one deal, and to turn it down because it just didn't look right, or it didn't feel right, or it didn't smell right.
Yeah,
That's insanity.
yeah. They've made a number of mistakes along the way, but there's still people love the franchise.
Oh yeah, well, it's exciting.
It's an exciting franchise. It's edgy. They've always had the reputation among
Bad boys.
bad boys that was the team, and you remember the commercials, which were true, when they were down in L.A. that the lines of cars would line up on Sunday morning at the Oakland Coliseum and sit out there and tailgate,
Yeah.
and watch the game on TVs.
That's loyalty that you can't
Yeah,
manufacture.
maybe the most. I would say the Steeler fans are the most loyal fans in sports. I've never seen anything quite like that.
They start wearing their jerseys on Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you just there's I mean, people make their garden steel. I was driving down I-5 yesterday here, and there's a big ass truck with Washington plates on it. But the back of the truck tailgate is "Go Steelers" in black and gold. So yeah, it's crazy how loyal fans are for that franchise. But Raiders are right under them.
They put on a show.
They put on a show, and it takes you back. And you think about the Raiders, and you don't think about the Raiders of today. You think about the Raiders of the '70s and the stories of the parties and how they all lived together up in the Oakland Hills.
I
And
want to I want to go drinking and driving with Phil Villapiano.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they all that was their thing. Is there was not just the reputation of them on the field, but the reputation of them off the field, which was this was a clique of guys that you wanted, that you were cool at work if you passed a Raider in his car on the way to work that morning.
Yeah.
You won the day.
Who did you see? Otis Sistrunk. That's who. I swear to God, he was in the 7-Eleven with me.
Yep. I mean, and who
What
you
was he
calling?
getting? A Slurpee. He was getting a Slurpee, if you can believe it.
Yeah. Well, you remember those guys from the jewelry store, the 14 carats guys. They lived up there in Raiderville, up in the hills, and I forget whose house they lived in. It was one of the ex-Raiders' houses that they lived in, and yeah, I mean, when you went to a party up at their house, they still talked about the Raiders as if they were still there.
Who the hell was that huge guy out in the driveway? That was Ted Hendricks. He's the mad stork. Don't get him pissed off.
Yeah, don't piss them off. We just let him sit out there and cool off.
Just leave him alone. He's a good man. Leave him alone. Don't call him Ted. Don't call him the mad stork. Don't call him anything. Just leave him alone
Just don't miss calling him for dinner because that gets him pissed off all over again.
because he's always hungry.
He's always hungry. So, Mikey, I have a story for you that's a drive time story, but I wanted to run it by you because I know that you enjoy these kind of high tech stories.
Oh, yeah.
So, there are three, is it three? Yeah, there are three companies now in an experiment that will install a chip in your wrist.
Oh, dear.
And that chip will open, close, start, and program your Tesla.
Only my Tesla.
Only, well, I think it's only a Tesla. You won't really know for sure.
Impossible to know.
It's impossible to know.
So do I push
But
it once for starting it, push it twice for unlock the door, or what's the deal?
you put your wrist on a special little grid that's on the door of the car. And I guess your wife and kids could have one implanted too.
Why not surprise the kids next door and plant one in their wrist, and they'll be starting the car and won't know how they did it.
And generally, the Tesla folks, which I've always called a cult. I think it's a bunch of people who are strange. He's strange. They're strange. Probably the ones that were the loudest complainers about the vaccinations.
Have the blackest Teslas.
And yeah, for I think, like I said, I think three companies are doing it on an experimental basis. I have to tell you that I would not, in any shape, manner, or form, get a chip put in my wrist to open up my car.
And plus, Mr. Tesla knows enough about us already. He doesn't need to know what room I'm in.
Right, everybody's pointing the finger at Bill Gates, and here comes Biff Jiggerman with his Elon Musk with his idea to implant chips in everybody. So you never know who it's going to be.
I texted you about it, but I figured out what the car was that I saw. The Cadillac Lyric is what I
Oh
saw.
yeah, yeah.
And let me tell you, it is very futuristic looking. You want to drive one when you see it. And the one I saw was fire engine red with black everything, black instead of chrome anywhere that you would see it on the Cadillac. It was all high gloss black, and including the wheel covers. So I was quite impressed. The lyric is a beauty, and I wanted one. It immediately catches your eye. It's completely different.
Well, if you save or start saving up your money now, um,
By the time I'm dead, I still won't have enough.
you still won't have enough. That car, now they haven't announced the price on it yet, but they're talking that that's going to be a minimum of a $250,000 car.
Well, it just sitting on parked down the street, it was a sight to see.
Well, and if you're buying a car for $250,000, that's what you're buying. You're buying the wow factor, and
Yes.
that's what Cadillac wants to do. They want to build. You know, they've gone through so many years of building cars that look like Oldsmobiles or anything else out on the street that they kind of are going back to the philosophy of the standard of the world.
Yeah.
Now, whether their engineering will get them there or not, whether the things that they do mechanically will get their cars there remains to be seen. But
Well,
those cars are going to be handmade.
ah,
They've got a special factory set up, and those cars are all being put together by hand. And we will see. I can't wait to drive one to see if it compares. I mean, I've driven Rolls, I've driven Bentley, I've driven Maserati, so I know what the standard should be, and I'm very interested in driving one. There's nothing I would like more than to see Cadillac take that top spot.
when did they start getting away from being the boat that's hard to turn on the corner to doing something with more like Mercedes-Benz engineering for cornering and for handling?
Well, you know, in the 80s, they started to trim down the cars, get away from the boat and get more to but it was still boaty.
Yeah.
And in cost cutting, General Motors decided that they would use the same body as they use for the Chevy or for this or for that. So you look at a '89 Cadillac, and it looks pretty much like an '89 Chevy.
Not what you were going for.
Yeah, what they were doing is they were also though developing some different cars. The Alante,
Hmm.
which was a convertible with slim lines, two-seater, almost like a sports car, an XLR, which
Hmm.
was,
Yes.
for in essence, a Corvette with a Cadillac badge on it.
I've seen them. Yeah.
Very impressive, very beautiful car. And then over the past 10 years, they've really starting with they built a car that was the um, uh, oh man, it was a eight. Oh man, I can't. The model name is escaping me, but it had a Corvette engine in it, but it was a
Uh-huh.
station wagon,
No.
little like SUV type station wagon, and it was a scream to drive.
I'll bet.
It was one of the fastest vehicles that I had ever driven up until that time.
Let's go to the store. I'll drive.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it was I believe it was a 600 horsepower car, and CTSV, that's what it was, the CTSV, and out of that came this division of Cadillac called Blackwing.
Blackwing.
Blackwing, and those are specially developed racing type Cadillacs, but are available to buy on the street. And so they have slowly, more slowly than many people like, gotten out of the boat and moved themselves into a more performance luxury orientation. They're
Do they
trying
still
to,
make a Coupe de Ville?
yeah, they're no more DeVilles. Now they're all letters and numbers. Um, and in some instances, it's worked. In some instances, it hasn't. But there's been progression. I mean, the Cadillac you buy today is a lot better than the Cadillac you would have bought 10 or 15 years ago. And they're
And
only going to get much more better because they're going to be the halo car for General Motors. They're going to go back to being the car that you aspire to.
right,
We'll invite you into a Chevy, but we want you to get used to the Chevy so we can sell you a Cadillac up the road.
and
And
save your money because this was 260 grand.
right, and take market share back from BMW. Take market share back, and there's a lot of people that think, myself included, that some of those performance cars they put out in the 2010s were as good as BMWs.
The
No.
XLR among them.
Yeah, yeah, were really spectacular vehicles, but suffered from years of nobody knowing really what to do at Cadillac. So hopefully, it would be really nice to see them back on top, as long as they don't say to me, "But Vinny, get a chip, put it in your wrist."
Yeah,
I just had something in my wrist yesterday. I want to, or Monday, I want to avoid that for a while.
let's not have any more wristbands.
I wonder if they, maybe they put a chip in.
Oh God, and didn't tell you.
You never
Well,
know, Michael. Who knows what they're doing when you're. Yeah, let me tell you about my high school girlfriend.
she was lovely. I don't remember her name at the moment, but
Oh no, I could never forget her name. Um,
Anna.
no, Kathy. I know her name. All right. Well, today was a show that went somewhere.
It started somewhere, it went somewhere, and now it's over. And we can only give ourselves a standing ovation.
Yes, it's today is what I call a bakery show. We got in the car. We were going to drive down the bakery, pick up a couple of donuts, a couple of cups of coffee, and we
Yes,
wound up in Little Rock to get pancakes.
and they were damn good. In fact, the other day we talked about pancakes. I bought some pancake mix, and Kristen and I had pancakes for dinner the other night. And she said, "This was a good idea."
There's something about pancakes for dinner that's cleansing.
One thing I want to remind everyone, especially people who think the pancakes are all about the syrup, make sure you have enough syrup. We made it. We made it. But I was worried there for a while when we first started that there wasn't going to be enough syrup. And I can't proceed into the world of pancakes without plenty of syrup.
I'm a plenty of syrup guy too, but I also somewhere along the way picked up butter and sugar.
Those are good people to know.
Yeah, somewhere along the way, I think it might have been at summer camp one year. I picked up dab of butter and a little sugar on top of the butter. And I find it quite delicious. I,
That's acceptable. Yeah.
I love the syrup. And in New York, you got to go with the syrup because there's so many maple trees.
Yeah.
But in a pinch, give me 2 packs of butter, a couple of packets of sugar, and I'll make it work.
See, if you can make it work, you can enjoy life better. Vinny, I'll see you on a Freaky Fractious Friday. What do you say?
I say that we get together here on Friday morning at 10:10, if the Lord's willing, and the creek don't rise.
And I'll see you over at the Manischewitz tasting room.
Because after all, we all need a little bit of a peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
Have a good week, Vin.
All right, Mikey, talk to you later.